Holy cow. Are you kidding me? Well, looks like I better move the welder. You're the one that's... I am on my way to Salmon, Idaho. I wasn't even going to turn the camera on, but it's just so beautiful that I thought I would real quick. I am on my way to pick up 21-foot lodgepole pines. The lodgepole pines that I use across the front of the fence that I like so much. I used to pay 13 bucks a piece for them. Now I can't even find them within a 100-mile radius of my home, or if I can find them, they're twice as expensive as they used to be. So I'm driving about 4.5 hours to pick up a load of these lodgepole pines in the mountains. It's always the mountains as I get away from our little hometown. It's always the mountains that just blow my mind in Idaho. I've said this before, but someone said that if you flattened out all the mountains in Idaho, the only state that would be bigger would be Alaska. So the place where I'm headed to, Salmon, is supposed to be a pretty unique little town too, so I'm kind of curious to see it. I've never been there before. So.
Thank you to Beam for sponsoring today's video and providing us with a good night's sleep.
So a few days ago, I had my first cup of Beam about 45 minutes before I went to bed. And if I don't get a good, thorough night's sleep, I feel it the next day. And it seems like that's getting a little bit harder to come by. So I had a cup of Beam. About 45 minutes later, I noticed how relaxed I felt. And then I had one of the best night's sleep that I've had in quite a while. Now I drink a cup of Beam every night before I go to bed.
You can subscribe at shopbeam.com/redpoppyranch. There are 6 delicious flavors, including cinnamon cocoa, which is our favorite, sea salt caramel, chocolate peanut butter, white chocolate peppermint, chocolate raspberry, and now mint chip. It's very easy to make. You add a scoop of Beam to 6 to 8 ounces of warm water or milk, use the frother, and it's ready to be served.
You can get up to 35% off the original price and a free frother when you use our code REDPOPPY.
Click the link in the description or go to shopbeam.com/redpoppyranch so you can enjoy a good night's sleep.
After making the 9-hour trip to Salmon, Idaho to pick up these 21-foot lodgepole pines, I now have enough to finish the entire front of the fence, as well as quite a few other projects around here. The next time I need a 21-foot lodgepole pine, I don't want to spend 6 months trying to find it. So I made sure that I came home with a little extra. All of these lodgepole pines have been through a wildfire. If you paid attention, you could see an active wildfire that is burning just minutes out of Salmon, Idaho as we speak. The irony is the guys that I bought these lodgepole pines from said they're not sure if they're ever going to be able to get them again because all of the regulation in the forest is changing. Had I known that these 21-foot lodgepole pines had been through a wildfire, I may not have even driven up to Salmon, Idaho to pick them up. Because working with timber that has been through a wildfire is not fun. By the time I finished putting up all the lodgepole pines across the front of our fence, naturally I was pretty dirty. But at this moment, this is the only lodgepole pine in this length that I could find. So now, because the regulation is changing in the forests around the country, more timber like this is going to be left behind, which means when the wildfires start, there will be more fuel to burn. I could probably take my pressure washer and pressure wash the majority of the char off the outside of these lodgepole pines. The wildfire that they went through was very fast moving, and actually the little bit of char that's left on them will probably help preserve them. But if you happen to bump into one of these lodgepole pines while leaning up against the fence, you might get a little bit dirty in the process. The guys that cut down these lodgepole pines said they'd been doing it for over 20 years. And that they now have to use the money that I paid them for this trailer load of lodgepole pines. They have to use that money to defend themselves in court. Because according to some new regulator, the regulations have changed. So I have yet to see any evidence that this regulation is going to do anything but make things worse. We see this every year in Arizona with the wildfires. And every year in Idaho now the wildfires are getting worse and worse. I did a couple of things different on this section of fence compared to the first section of fence that I built a couple years back. The first thing that I'm not doing is I'm not using spikes to hold the lodgepole pines up. I'm using 8-inch timber screws. I also tried to stagger the joints with all of the lodgepole pines, which ultimately makes the fence even stronger. So after purchasing my excavator, I started looking for the buckets that I would use. The excavator came with a grading bucket, but I wanted to get what's typically called a brush rake or something like that I can use when I'm cleaning up the trees. But I also have a need for something to pick up the rocks. I've got little rocks everywhere, especially as we've moved the dirt around. The long story short is I stumbled onto a company called Rhinox, and Rhinox still manufactures buckets in England and in India. I ended up getting on a call with Josh. Josh works for Rhinox, and he gave me the story on the company, the history of the company, but the fact that they still employ metal workers in England like that. It was really easy for me to get behind a company like Rhinox. So they sent me the rake riddle bucket, and they sent me a ripper tooth. The rake riddle bucket is the one I'm most interested in because it's versatile. I can use it both with the brush and with all the small rocks that I have around here. So I'm going to switch it out. I should be working on the fence, but I'm too excited to try this thing out. So I'm going to switch it out real quick and then go up and just clean up around the burn pile and just get a feel for this new bucket I got. He also sent me some gummy bears, so I'll be working on those the rest of the day as well. So. This is my new favorite bucket. The gummy bears ain't too bad either, but I really like that bucket. So it's that time of year again, and we need to get hay put up before the weather changes. Cedar's little brother baled 100 two-string bales for us, and I asked him if I could use my skid steer and see if I can load the hay on my trailer in a way where I can stand up vertically at the end of the day. And he told me I could give it a try, so here we go. Shortly after Cedar and I got married, we went to church one Sunday, and I had the chance to listen to a 93-year-old man tell me the secret to life. And after he talked about digging ditches and all the physical things that he had to do to get by, he said that hard physical work might be the most important piece of the puzzle when it comes to a long life. But as much as I like hard physical work, I hate stacking hay. When it comes to hard physical work, I love that our lifestyle requires it, and I'm glad that I don't have to pay money to burn this many calories. It just so happens that my brother-in-law's family farmland just happens to sit right up against the Bear River. Many years ago, this is where Cedar and I came and stayed when we were first considering moving to this area. And naturally, staying close to this river, it had an influence on us. If I have my way, at some point there will be a hay shed right here where I can pull up the new driveway onto this part of the new property and back the hay trailer right up to where we're going to stack the hay, and it will be protected and out of the weather. But in the short term, the plan is to put fencing and gates right here where we can feed on this side instead of the other side closer to the shop. I would normally keep the hay up on pallets to keep it off the ground, but I didn't have enough time to find some good pallets, so I put some old aluminum corrugated tin down. And before I build that permanent hay shed, I'll do something to elevate the hay, so again it lasts longer. Come on, Willie. Where's Ruby at? Ruby! Let's go for a ride. Come on, Ruby. Good girl, Ruby. Yes, you are. You're a good girl. Stay. I ran the skid steer with the rock bucket all around this front yard right here last night. Stay, Willie. All around the front yard last night, kind of trying to finish up grading and getting it ready to put some grass seed down and start watering this and seeing if I can't get some grass to come back. But this is what came out of the ground using just that rock bucket in about an hour and a half of work. So the rock bucket did an amazing job, but now I got a whole bunch of rocks and sticks that I think I can bury as I move some more dirt around here at some point. But that rock bucket did a really, really good job just kind of cleaning things up. So, Willie, let's go for a ride. Come on. This is where the double gates are going to go, and I need to put in 2 more posts so I can finish this section of fence, move the pile of rocks, then move on to that section of fence on the other side of the driveway. At some point, we're going to have a whole bunch of snow on the ground over here, and I'm trying to put these gates in a way where they're still functioning to keep animals in and out, and also open when there is 3 feet of snow on the ground. So at this point, we've made a pretty serious investment trying to make this new piece of property work with our existing property. Up to this point, I've probably moved a couple thousand yards of dirt. I can barely remember what the original property even looked like. But now that the front fence is almost finished, it really brings things together, and it looks like it was all originally one big piece of property. But the front fence was the only fence on our property that was not affected by the heavy wet snow over winter, and I shouldn't have to do anything else to this fence for a long time. The weather has been perfect for these outside summer projects, and I know at any point now it's going to change. I've still got to get the gas line for the bobtail propane tank ran across the yard and tied into the old line. But before I can do that, I also need to run about 250 feet of water line around this new pasture so I can water it and keep that grass growing during the warm summer months. So of course we've got plenty to do around here, and hopefully we can get it all done before snow flies. We wanted to say thank you for taking time to watch our weekly video. It really means a lot to us. On our next video, I'm going to get back to running the water lines and the gas line for that bobtail propane tank, so I can get that all finished up before the weather changes. Before I start working on the retaining wall at some point this fall, I wanted to get an idea of how many big boulders I actually had, and I also need to move the rocks so I can finish that section of fence as well. We will see you guys in a week.